Well, welcome, folks. If you heard the president's speech last night, it was masterful. It was amazing. The array of guests who, there was a team effort, we understand, but to pick people like Buzz Aldrin and then the woman who had been locked up for so many years for a little bit of marijuana use and so forth. I mean, it was a brilliant tour de force. CBS News, CNN Instant Poll polls 76% of those who watched approved. CNN, 59% said very positive. CBS, 72% approved of his immigration proposals. It was an amazing work. Did you watch?
I watched it and enjoyed every single bit of it. I thought it was, I mean, truly one of the best State of the Unions I have ever seen in my lifetime.
Well, he took away all of the issues that the Democrats have.
They were cheering at times.
He had them cheer. How could they not cheer veterans for World War II? How could they not cheer a Holocaust survivor? How could they not cheer Buzz Aldrin? I mean, he had during the speech, it was peppered with these people, and he had to force the Democrats to get up there. They can't sit on their hands when a Holocaust survivor and the man who's liberated him from Dachau is on the same platform.
Maybe they're regretting giving him more time to prepare for the speech now.
But it was brilliant. Okay.
Well, the president covered a wide range of topics in the State of the Union, from illegal immigration to the economy, and speaking to a House of Representatives led by Democrats who have pushed for late-term abortions. He called on Congress to protect the unborn. We have two reports now, beginning with our White House correspondent, Ben Kennedy.
President Trump pushed back against abortion, saying we need to work together to build a culture that cherishes innocent life. A strong message he hit on during his speech, which was delayed a week due to the partial government shutdown.
We meet tonight at a moment of unlimited potential.
President Trump took advantage of the pulpit Tuesday night to call for unity and bipartisanship.
There is a new opportunity in American politics if only we have the courage together to seize it.
Trump also took advantage of recent headlines to fight for the unborn, calling on Congress to pass legislation to prohibit late-term abortions.
There could be no greater contrast to the beautiful image of a mother holding her infant child than the chilling displays our nation saw in recent days. Lawmakers in New York cheered with delight upon the passage of legislation that would allow a baby to be ripped from the mother's womb moments from birth. These are living, feeling, beautiful babies who will never get the chance to share their love and their dreams with the world. And then we had the case of the governor of Virginia, where he stated he would execute a baby after birth.
The commander-in-chief then broke down his vision for safe and legal immigration, demanding a border wall. He illustrated his point by hosting family members of an elderly couple murdered in their home just last month by an undocumented immigrant.
I will never forget, and I will fight for the memory of Gerald and Sharon, that it should never happen again. Not one more American life should be lost because our nation failed to control its very dangerous border.
Trump said, simply put, walls save lives.
In the past, most of the people in this room voted for a wall, but the proper wall never got built. I will get it built.
The future of the wall still remains in question as congressional negotiators continue to work on a deal to prevent another government shutdown. In the Democrats' response, former Georgia governor candidate Stacey Abrams placed blame for the recent closings of the government directly on the president.
The shutdown was a stunt engineered by the President of the United States, one that defied every tenet of fairness and abandoned not just our people, but our values.
Trump struck a bipartisan tone when talking about rebuilding America, fighting cancer, eradicating HIV, lowering the cost of health care, and the positive economy.
An economic miracle is taking place in the United States, and the only thing that can stop it are foolish wars, politics, or ridiculous partisan investigations.
He got a standing ovation from both sides after stating women have filled more than 50% of new jobs created in the last year.
We also have more women serving in Congress than at any time before.
Trump then reaffirmed determination to protect American interest and end foreign wars.
If I had not been elected President of the United States, we would right now, in my opinion, be in a major war with North Korea.
Now, President Trump confirmed his second summit with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un for February 27th and 28th in Vietnam. As for lawmakers' reaction to the president's address, here's Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson.
This year marked President Trump's first time speaking before a divided Congress. And while Republicans praised the president's remarks,
it was very inspirational.
He did a great job.
The president did an outstanding job. He, to me, knocked it out of the park.
Democrats disagreed, with the Senate Minority Leader hitting the president's call for unity even before the speech.
In the past, he's called for unity and he's forgotten about it by the next morning.
And while President Trump told the crowd if there is going to be legislation, there cannot be investigation, a Democrat on the House Oversight Committee told CBN News their intent on keeping their foot on the investigation pedal.
That's my constitutionally prescribed duty to conduct oversight. The American people hired us to be in the majority to serve as a check and balance on the Trump administration.
Still, Democrats acknowledged they supported some of the president's remarks, and unity might just be possible, even in the most divisive area.
First of all, I have to say one thing that really stuck out was the president never said, I'm going to have a shutdown if I don't get my $5.7 billion of defense. He never said that. I think that's a message to my Republican colleagues that we can sit down, negotiate on border security. Now, we are going to put billions of dollars, but it's not going to be billions of dollars on defense.
Congressman Cuellar sits on the Bipartisan Conference Committee, currently negotiating the compromise bill for border security.
We have to find a balance between our neighbor to the south and at the same time, not only to our neighbor of the south, the trade and tourism, but have security. And I feel very confident that if we put the technology, the personnel, and I'll say this as a Democrat, find ways to do some enhanced physical barriers, we can get there.
And he's one of just a handful of Democrats pleased to hear the president reaffirm his commitment to protecting the unborn.
I'm one of 4, 5, 6 Democrats and pro-life. I mean, I'll do whatever I can to make sure that we protect life. But I do know the makeup of the House. I do know you have to get to 60 votes over there. And so to get to where the president wants to get might be difficult at this time.
Many Republicans supported the president's strong statements as well.
He talked about the unborn. I was very appreciative of that moment, too, to recognize that life is precious and that it should be protected, unlike what's going on in New York and Virginia. So those were all very inspiring moments.
The high from this year's address will be short-lived for Republicans if lawmakers fail to reach a compromise by the end of next week to prevent another government shutdown. Reporting from Capitol Hill, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Well, I hope they can listen to what the president had to say and get together. We can't have another shutdown. That last thing cost about $11 billion. We can't afford it. It hurts too many people, and it's not just something that you do on account of some border wall. You can't risk the jobs of people and all the other ancillary problems. We cannot have a government shutdown. We just can't do it. Well, in other news, the Senate has passed a bill that takes a stand against the movement to boycott. You know, that idea of boycott and divest and so forth. Well, John Jessup has this story from our CBN News Bureau.
Thanks, Pat. The measure is aimed against those working with the BDS movement. BDS stands for Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions Against Israel. The bill allows state and local governments to refuse to work with businesses that are part of the BDS movement. Although the measure, sponsored by Florida Senator Marco Rubio, was approved by the Senate, it isn't expected to pass the Democratic-controlled House. So far, 27 states have adopted laws that discourage boycotts against Israel. Well, America's obesity epidemic could take a terrible toll as the number of cancer cases linked to being overweight are on the rise among people under 50, with the biggest increase in younger people. That's in a report by Reuters citing a study in the Lancet Public Health. The increases come in colorectal, kidney, and pancreatic cancers, among others. Higher rates among younger Americans now could lead to an explosion of cancers in the years ahead as they grow older. And that would mean, Pat, even more health care costs in both the private sector and in government.
Well, we've been talking about the gut flora, and what the other thing is inflammation. And, we had Dr. Perlmutter the other day on the show talking about inflammation. That is the major health problem they're dealing with. And the cancers come from inflammation. And the inflammation comes from ingesting too much sugar, too much white flour, and keeping the insulin high in our bodies. And so not only do we get Parkinson's, and we get Alzheimer's, and we get other types of dementia, but now we're getting a serious epidemic of cancer. And I urge you, the people in this audience, don't let your kids stuff up on junk food. You read the labels of the cereals, they're loaded with sugar. And the breakfast that we eat is sugar-loaded, and then the snacks they eat are sugar-loaded. The soft drinks they drink are sugar-loaded, and we're stressing our bodies, and we're building up inflammation, and the inflammation causes cancer. So we've got an epidemic of cancer just because we're eating the wrong stuff. And parents, do you think you're doing your children a favor? You're not. You're killing them when you stuff that stuff up. Read the labels on these cereals, sugar pops, and that kind of stuff.
It's frightening.
It is frightening.
It's so sad when you see those young kids and they're already obese, and you think, what kind of future are they going to have?
Well, we've got, I've talked about high fructose corn syrup, which is a big deal, but you've got sugar in everything. They start off in the early days with the food they give to little infants. They think they've got it loaded with salt and sugar, and the little kids don't need that. They want natural food. If we had vegetables, and unfortunately, there are steroids being put into the beef, into the pork, into the chickens. They not only are steroids to make them fatter, but they're also antibiotics to kill bugs, but those antibiotics go through to people, and they in turn kill our gut flora. It's a vicious cycle, and I'm telling you, you're looking at range-fed chicken, free-range chicken, and grass-fed beef, but you don't get that very often, especially if you go out to eat.
Read the labels, right?
How many people read labels? I used to talk to my wife, did you read the label, what this is? No, I didn't read the label. Well, why don't you got to read the labels? You see, and it says the percentage of sugar, and it says it'll tell you what's in the food. But folks, this is an epidemic. You talk about opioid, we've got the opioid problem. Well, this other thing is there too.